So some of the Psalms in the book of Psalms have a lot of very beautiful things to say about the word of the Lord and the law of the Lord. The longest psalm, Psalm 119, goes on for several pages in most Bibles, and it talks just about how beautiful the law is. And the kind of way it's structured is it goes through the Hebrew alphabet, and then at the first letter of every kind of stanza is the first letter of the alphabet, and it just keeps going and going and going, talking about how great the law is. And the psalm today, Psalm 19, is doing the same thing. The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. And on it goes about how beautiful the law is. Now, I don't know about you, but I look at certain laws in the world and I find them a little bit oppressive. Like if I'm waiting at a stoplight too long, all I can think about is this is an unjust law. I'm tired of sitting here. There's a lot of law that is not fun to mess with. Taxes are upon us almost. That's another not fun law. But the law of the Lord is perfect and refreshes the soul. It's almost counterintuitive. We know we have to follow laws, I think, so we can live in society and fine, and we kind of do that because we have to oftentimes. But can you imagine that the law could refresh your soul? We heard the 10 Commandments in the first reading today, and can you imagine that these laws are anything but a burden? And yet, they're refreshing. Why? Because the author of the universe, who created us and has his purposes for us, knows exactly what we need to be fully, totally, and completely ourselves. And so when there's laws about thou shalt not commit adultery or thou shalt not murder, these are so that we are rightly ordered and going the right direction we need to go because of the way we've been created. For instance, I've been doing CrossFit for the last several months, and I love it a lot. But any weightlifting, any running, whatever, once you know the rules of how to lift weights or the rules of how to run well, your body responds better to those things. And if you're lifting weights improperly, you're going to throw out your back, you're going to get pulled muscles and torn this, that, and the other thing. But if you do it within the right laws, your body's going to get stronger, ideally, and it's going to work better. That's the same thing with the law. Once we know the rules of how to live life, in a sense, it should make life living easier. So if you don't commit adultery, it does make your life a lot easier and a lot simpler. Even laws like thou shalt, there's this law about remember to keep holy the Sabbath day. 6 days you may labor and do all your work, but the seventh day the Lord your God rested, and so you should rest. There's something about the fact of how we're created that even we as human beings need to rest once in a while. It's built into who we are, and God has revealed these things to us. So the law is a freeing thing because in our society, workaholism is a virtue. We need somebody like God to tell us, it's okay to take a break once in a while, right? You don't have to feel guilty about taking a day off. And the strange thing about the law is sometimes it just feels like it rubs against the grain. Because again, the culture we live in, maybe the lifestyle we've grown up in. But St. Paul in the first letter to the Corinthians, the second reading this morning, mentions to us that Jews demand signs and Greeks look for wisdom. But what do? We proclaim Christ, and not just Christ, but Christ crucified. It's strange that we're proclaiming a dead man. And yet that's our salvation. And that's what we strive for. So not all of these things are necessarily intuitive, but if we're living them out well, I believe that we're going to be living this human life to the best of our abilities. One final note I want to make about all of these laws and ways of working in the world is from the gospel reading. At the end of the gospel reading today, it says that everybody is becoming to believe in Jesus because of the signs he was doing. But then Jesus, it says, it turns around, and Jesus would not trust himself to them because he knew them all and did not need anyone to testify about human nature because he himself understood it well. This is again my point. Jesus, who became incarnate, knows better than anybody else how to live this Christian life well. And even in this little piece here, he's showing us how to live the Christian life, how to live life well. Everybody is trusting him. They're coming to believe in him. And yet I would say that he doesn't hang his hat on that. It's nice to be liked. It's nice to be supported. It's nice for people to believe in you. But he doesn't trust himself to that. What does he trust himself to but to the will of his Father and pleasing his Father? Because if he was just about crowd appeal, he would have never been crucified. He would have never said the challenging things he says throughout the rest of the gospel. He wouldn't have even gone through and made the whip of cords and chased out the money changers and everybody else. He wouldn't have done these things because he was worried about popular opinion. And that's the reason that whenever he comes to his crucifixion, as we'll celebrate in several more weeks, that the same crowds who believed in him, who now turned on him, that he didn't totally and completely despair because he was focused on his Father's will. So friends, for the law, I hope that it is a thing that is refreshing to your soul. And if it's not, which sometimes it might not be because we rebel against these things in our hearts, take these laws to prayer. And ask the Lord if he can open up your heart and your mind to understanding the mysteries of how the law can refresh your soul.